The headaches for Boris Johnson really have been piling up lately. We have seen how his half-baked attempt to deal with the pandemic, while ignoring scientific advice but claiming to follow it, is creating a deep split within his party. He had hoped to ignore and sidestep the free school meals issue, but the public anger surrounding it grows louder by the day. He can't keep hiding in his fridge. This is all of Boris Johnson's own doing. He filled his cabinet with idiots with the odd exception, and excluded those with a reasonable level of competence. Why? Because he sees them as a threat to him. He preferred to have damaged goods like Priti Patel or characters with zero charisma like Matt Hancock, knowing that they would never really oppose him or seek to usurp him. He truly believed his biggest challenge would be Brexit, when in reality itself has been Boris Johnson's biggest obstacle. He's limped from one crisis to another, and the latest one is going to take a lot more than a slogan or oomph to resolve. More than 50 Tory MPs in Northern England have demanded that Boris Johnson provide a clear roadmap out of lockdown, and they have argued that the pandemic has exposed in sharp relief the deep structural and systematic disadvantage faced by their communities. Now, most countries have a north-south or east-west divide, and this is also the case in England. Many Northerners see themselves as forgotten by the London elite or by Southerners in general. In a strongly worded letter from the so-called Northern Research Group, which is headed by Boris Johnson's ally Jake Berry, 55 MPs expressed fears that the Prime Minister's promise of levelling up is now being abandoned. 44 are named, many from former Red Wall seats, plus 2 are from Northern Wales, and 1 is from Scotland, while the other 14 remain anonymous. They are extremely concerned that their regions that have been placed under the new tier system is going to have a detrimental impact on their societies. Now, you have to remember that many of these Tories won seats in working-class ex-Labour strongholds. They won for a number of reasons, including opposition to Jeremey Corbyn and Brexit, but they were also promised by Boris Johnson that he would bring prosperity to their regions, including jobs, of course. However, instead of jobs and prosperity, voters are seeing the opposite. Job losses and businesses closed, lockdowns and restrictions, and this is opening up the old wounds of the north-south divide. Perhaps not even old wounds, but ones that have been festering for years. Now let's get to the main reason why these Tory MPs are so angry with Boris Johnson. They fear that they will be thrown out in the next election. Boris Johnson made promises. Yes, I can't see you watching this, but I know exactly what you're thinking. Anyway, Boris Johnson made promises to quote-unquote level up the north. This is now being undermined by the pandemic and the government's lame response to it. Boris is risking these MPs' careers, and they want him to turn the ship around. However, the ship is heading over a waterfall, and the ship's captain, Boris Johnson, is hiding below deck. These MPs, for the most part, don't care about their constituents. They care more about their seat in Westminster, and this is a real threat to that. There is a real risk that they will come under sustained pressure from voters to do something, to take control of the ship, and perhaps they will be able to convince Boris to turn the wheel a little. But as I've said, the ship has already gone over the waterfall, and the measures in place will do little to deal with the pandemic. Now, we may see the number decrease because of these measures, but as I've said before, it needs to go down to 0 or near 0 for an effective test and trace to work. Once again, people believed Boris Johnson, and people got thrown under a bus by him. I still ask myself why anyone would believe a word he says. I think this challenge to Boris may be considerate, but in the long term it will have little impact on him changing direction. If Boris Johnson doesn't see himself lasting as Prime Minister until 2024, then he will have no motivation to protect his Northern MPs. They serve their purpose to get Brexit done. Now back under the bus you go, Northern voters. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?